Welcome to Impact the World, a podcast from West Park Baptist Church in Knoxville, Tennessee. This is where we discuss topics related to how we can all love God, love people, and impact the world. Here's your host, Tara Hayes.
I am your host, Tara Hayes, and I'm excited to finally be sitting down again behind the microphone. And today I have with me a ministry friend, Matthew Goldstine.
It's good to be back.
It's good. It's been a minute.
It has.
Or a series of very many minutes.
We've been a busy bunch around here.
We've been a little busy. We were under construction for a while, didn't have anywhere we could record. And there's been this process, the transition going on.
The transition.
It's a very exciting time to be here at West Park and to be a part of what God's doing. And also at the start, Matthew and I want to acknowledge we probably sound funny. We're both kind of dealing with allergies or weather.
Yeah, getting over the fall change.
Yeah, but you know this is fake fall.
Yes, it's going to be 90 degrees in like a week and a half,
Yeah,
I'm sure of it.
And I'm going to cry and I'll be so sad.
Yep.
It'll be the hottest day when it's supposed to be a football day. You know that's what's going to happen.
I love Tennessee.
Well, this is just part of life and being here. It's all good. But one of the reasons we wanted to sit down today, as we had mentioned, there is transition going on at West Park. And if you are not aware of what's happening, there are great ways you can find out. You can go to the website and look at the lead pastor transition page. All the information is there. But as part of the transition over several months, some ministry roles have changed, and yours is kind of one of those.
Yes.
You are now officially the minister
to community groups and young adults. Yes.
Right.
So I came on 3 years ago as a resident and was originally just working in college ministry and then working essentially as Jake's right-hand man. He was involved in several ministries at the time, and I was able to just kind of help him with a lot of those and primarily work on college ministry stuff. And then over time, I've just kind of added other things to that and stayed in college ministry the whole time. And so now I've kind of taken young adult ministry off his plate as well. And then when Pastor Joe announced that he was moving up to Michigan, we kind of had the ball rolling for me to step into leadership over our community groups as a whole.
Yeah, so you've got a lot of community type ministry going on.
Yes, all around people.
All around people. That's great. So today, specifically, we want to talk about college ministry.
Yes.
And so tell a little, I mean, you've touched on it a little bit, but I'm sure there's a greater picture of how you got involved in college ministry.
Yeah, here you could boil it down to that's what I got hired on to do, and we could kind of laugh and just say that's the job aspect of it. But bigger picture, when I moved away to Alabama to go to undergrad, through a long story that we don't have enough time to talk about here, but through a crazy set of circumstances and God kind of ordaining some wild things happening, I got connected with a young church that was, it was a church plant only about a year old by the time that I got there in 2018. And I got connected with their church and with their college ministry, and they were incredibly passionate about college ministry for a variety of reasons. They really set up a lot of why I care about it, what my theology is in that area, and seeing people so committed to that demographic and seeing people so committed to the Great Commission, especially as it relates to college students, it was just infectious and so hard to not also fall in love with that ministry, seeing them do that. And so I, over those 4 years, really got more and more connected, was able to intern with that church, lead small groups in for our college students, and that really set me up for loving college students for those 4 years. And then when I was coming back on staff here, it really made sense for me to continue in that role as somebody at the time fresh out of college and still looking to make an impact kind of in that realm. I guess one story that would really illustrate those whole 4 years would be And he doesn't know I'm going to share this story. I don't know that he's listening, so we'll see. But one of my best friends was a guy that I met my junior year of college. And at the time, I was leading a small group on campus for our college students. And there was a girl in that group who is friends with this guy who had not come to our church, never been connected with anything, brought him out of nowhere on one Monday night to our community group. And he was a believer, but had been relatively disconnected from community in any meaningful sense. And so he comes to our small group. He and I get lunch later that week, and we're talking more. And I always joke with him. I distinctly remember being at that lunch and having the thought, I'm never going to see this guy again. Like, I do not think he's coming back. And he did come back.
You didn't scare him.
I
Good
did not.
job.
Well, I think I did scare him, but he was willing to stay through the scare, through meeting me. And we ended up becoming such good friends. He got connected with our small group, ultimately with the church, became a member, served on mission there, spent one of
Wow.
his summers in another city trying to live on mission. And one of the coolest memories I have is that after I had graduated, I'd been out of college for maybe 2 years at this time, and I was back down in Alabama visiting and staying at his house. And he had a friend over for dinner who was a younger guy at the church, a college student. And I had met this guy maybe once or twice before I graduated. He was like I think a freshman when I was a senior. And we were sitting at dinner, and you've got me and you've got my friend sitting across the table, who's this guy that I had spent a year or two really deeply investing in, discipling him, teaching him how to follow Jesus, just becoming really good friends with him. And then you've got another guy who he was doing that with, and he and I are talking about the small group that guy was leading and the
Wow.
people that he was seeing come to Christ. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, we're talking about my spiritual great grandkids here.
Wow.
And just such a cool way of seeing how people get plugged in and connected, and the impact that ministry has, even just a couple years. It's hard not to fall in love with a ministry like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's exciting when you get to see God gives you that glimpse into the effect that your ministry has had.
Absolutely.
So, it's obvious why you're involved in college ministry, but can you explain a little bit about why you think it's so important?
Yes. And I'm drawing this from my pastors in college. I'm so thankful for them setting this up in my mind so well. But the way that I see it, the college campus is probably the most strategic mission field in the world. And if not the most strategic, one of the most strategic. Because if you think about it, we've got the Great Commission, this call to make disciples of all nations and to go out and do that. And on the college campus, you actually have the nations coming to you.
Yeah.
And you have, it's kind of a weird phrase to use, but almost like this petri dish of community of the whole nations being represented in one localized place for a few years, where people can go in and, it's at a stage of life where people are generally really malleable, willing to change their ideas. They're not as set in their ways.
Yeah.
They're inherently the most mobile that they're ever going to be, because they don't have all of the established life ties that would root them to a particular place. So they're able to be sent out all over the globe. And you just have this ability to reach so many people. Even like Pellissippi, our community college here,
yeah.
has like 40 something nations represented in
Yeah.
it. So the ability that we have to reach people all around the world and reach the nations through the college campus is just unbelievable. So I'm always encouraging college students to think of their 4 years as like a missionary stint, where they're being commissioned as this particular role to go to the campus for this many years. And of course, we want to still think about the education that we're
Right.
getting and all that. But honestly, to think of that as secondary to our role as missionaries.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, and when you think about Pellissippi and UT, I mean, the University of Tennessee and the people that they draw from all over the world.
Right.
I mean, literally, the nations are at our door.
Absolutely.
So what would you say is the goal for your college ministry?
Yeah, here at West Park, and you'll hear me say this for anything community related, this is kind of always my tagline. The goal is that we're growing together as followers of Jesus. And what I mean by that, there's kind of these three components. One is that we've got to be growing. If we're in community, the goal is that we're always actually growing into Christ-likeness, because we recognize that we're never going to wake up and be more like Jesus than we were 10 years ago just by accident, but we actually have to put some effort into our discipleship. We do this together, knowing that most of our spiritual formation happens in the context of community, not individually. And then we do this as followers of Jesus, knowing that that's what makes us distinct from, I always say, just like a group of guys getting together to do fantasy football or something, who might be genuinely friends, but don't have the unifying goal of the furthering the gospel and following Jesus
Completely
as
different
what's
purpose.
exactly. And so the goal here is that we want to provide a space for not just college students, but college age people to be in transformative community, where for this season of life, they can grow as a disciple. We want to be a place where people can really see who Jesus is, learn how to follow him really as adults for the first time, people turning 18 and really learning what it means to be a follower of Jesus, and then what it means to go out and be a disciple maker for life. That's the whole goal. So we really want to put people who are in this similar season, similar stage of life, and then allow them to grow by doing that.
Yeah, I mean, you've already talked about it, and I just think back to my college years. You know, I grew up in a very stable, two-parent home
Right.
that had a firm foundation on what we believed. But even then, when you go off to college, I mean, it's a whole new world, and
It
you
is.
realize, oh, wait, like I'm an adult, I'm making decisions for myself, I'm making new friends. A lot of people are plucked up and put in a different place, and it's an exciting time. And I can see this is such an important ministry to pull them in and to show them like, hey, this is what faith really is, and to
Right.
help them grow and become more like Christ.
I mean, there's some statistic, and I wish I could quote it exactly, but that says something along the lines of 90% of people who grew up in church essentially walk away from the faith when they get to college.
Oh,
And so the percentage of people who are seen as resilient disciples, people who stay committed to Christ, it's so low. And we could get into all the different factors for
yeah.
why that is. But whatever the factors are, it shows us that there's this big importance on people getting into this season of life and then still having people invest in them,
Yeah.
still having them see what it means to actually follow Jesus, still being pursued by the gospel. Because a lot of people maybe grew up where they were forced, for lack of a better term, to go to church every
Right.
Wednesday and Sunday
Yeah.
for all these years. And the second that they weren't forced to do that anymore, they go to a college campus, they wake up in a dorm on their first Sunday morning, and nobody's telling them that they have to get out of bed and go to church.
Right.
And they miss that first Sunday, and then there's just this complete loss of momentum, and
Yeah.
people can tend to get pretty
It
disconnected.
creates a vacuum. I mean, you're just sucked in, and it's once you miss one or two, it's easy to see like, hey, maybe that's not necessary in my life.
Right. And I've seen it happen a million times over.
Yeah.
And so the goal is to be able to create a space where people really feel like this is their community, people that they love and people that know them inside and out, where they
Yeah.
can then wrestle through these things in a real way alongside other people.
Yeah. Well, I think it's an exciting ministry, and I think I can see that God's doing a lot through the college ministry here at West Park, and
I appreciate that.
I know you've had a big hand in that. So it's very exciting to see all of the new young college students that we are seeing these days. So, what does college ministry look like at West Park then?
Yeah, most of it happens in a weekly rhythm. We're basically mostly under the kind of community group model where we want to meet weekly in homes. And so we meet on Sunday nights at my house from roughly 7 to 9 p.m. And like with all of our community groups, there's a balance of us hanging out and maybe eating together some. There's time for us to discuss scripture, time for us to pray, all those things that make community. And normally what this has looked like historically, and will probably look like again in the future, is these are going to be sermon-based discussions where we're spending
Yeah.
time in what the church is going through as a whole on Sundays, and then working to apply that to our lives as college students. This year, I'm doing something a little bit different, just because I
Rebel.
can. Yeah,
You're a
yeah.
rebel.
I get to make this rule, so I'm changing it for myself.
going rogue.
And we're going through Mark for the whole year,
Oh, wow.
which Mark is my favorite book of the Bible.
Oh.
I've kind of committed to learning it inside and out. My goal is that somebody can wake me up at 3 a.m. out of a deep slumber, ask me some really random technical question about Mark, and I will have the answer ready. And so because I want our people basically to be better at reading scripture, know how to share the gospel, be able to walk through scripture with somebody else, reasons like these,
Yeah.
I've committed to spending this year having us go through this really deep dive into Mark for that goal. And so that's been really fun so far. We've been
That's
doing this like
awesome.
3 months now. That's our weekly rhythm. And then each month on the first Sunday of the month, we have something called the Hill. And the Hill, that language is pulling from the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 5:14, where Jesus says that you are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. And so our goal is that we want to really use that time to equip our people to be this city set on a hill. The thing that makes the Hill different from these other Sunday nights is that that's a time primarily for teaching rather than for discussion, recognizing that in the life of the church, Sunday mornings, we're not going to cover every single thing that
no
we
way.
need to in those sermons. And so that's a time for me to be able to get a little bit more topical for stuff that's relevant to the life of people in this season and stage of life. So we're talking about all sorts of different topics in there, and then breaking up into discussion groups and being able to really apply that to our lives. We do that monthly, and then on an annual basis, we do things like we just have bigger events. Like we've been taking the students to cross conference. This year, we're going to be taking them on a winter retreat, so booking a cabin and going up and kind of having a Sabbath.
Do you need a director
retreat.
of communications to go with you?
Yeah, I think we've got an extra spot
Okay, good.
if you want a cabin trip. And so we try to do stuff like that on a less regular basis, we're able to foster community and then really hit on some more unique points of discipleship.
Well, that's exciting. So the monthly meeting, the Hill, is that in the hub? Or
Right
does it
now, that's
move
at my
around?
house.
Okay.
There was a time when we were doing that in the hub and then having the other groups at my house. So if we grow out of my house, then we'll do that. But for now, I kind of like keeping everything in my living room. It just feels so much more
it's
personal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Easier to have conversation for sure.
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So I know that college ministry is important, and we talked a lot about focusing on people who are in college, but there is a greater picture.
Yes.
I mean, our church body is not just made up of college people, as you are well aware. We've
Right.
talked about Intergen a lot. How do you see the college ministry fitting into West Park as a whole?
Yeah, that's a good question, because it could almost be seen as a contradiction that I'm on here all the time to talk about our need to be an intergenerational church community, and then to be on here talking about basically
Let's all get
age-graded
together and-
ministry.
yeah.
So it could seem like a contradiction, but it's not, because community is bigger than any one group that somebody might be a part of. And so
Right.
my goal is to make sure that we're not segmenting off these college students and keeping them from the rest of the church and basically saying, okay, you're going to be at my house on Sunday nights doing this, and then we're going to have events 4 nights a week that are going to make sure that you're not able to be involved in anything else in the life of the church. We want to actually equip people to be involved in a little bit of everything all across the board.
Which
And-
I think should be the goal of every ministry.
Yes, absolutely. And so I don't think this is actually at all because of anything I've done, but we're actually in a pretty good spot with this right now, where so many of the people in our college ministry are already involved in student ministry or serving on Sunday mornings in various teams or other ministries. So most of our people, thankfully, because our student ministry is so solid, grew up learning the importance of that and carried that over into their time in our college ministry. So we definitely don't want to kind of segment people off from the rest of the church, but we recognize that college students are essentially the tip of the missional spear, right? They are the people who are mobile. They are tend to be zealous and young and able to do a lot of these things. And so we want to use that strategically to infuse that into the life of the church as a whole. And I think about discipleship big picture, right? The goal of us growing together as followers of Jesus. When I think about our college students growing, I think about the fact that discipleship is a community project. And so
Definitely.
not only is it about our college students being involved in the life of the church, but actually about the life of the church and the rest of the church being involved in the lives of our college students.
Yeah.
Because as the guy who's paid to be the leader of our college ministry, I love to do that and I love to be involved in that, but it actually can't all rest on me because people need a lot of investment from a lot of people. And so to really be an intergenerational church, we actually not only need our college students investing in the lives of those younger and older, but also those people investing back into them. I think about the people who impacted me most during my college years, the older believers that spent time with me and poured into me and challenged me and helped me grow. And my question is, right, who can be those people for our college students now? Because we've got people who need faithful, mature believers to be examples in their lives, to be people who can show them how to follow Jesus for the long haul, how to be faithful in the specific, unique set of circumstances that they'll find themselves in. And so to this larger question of how does our college ministry fit into the church as a whole, I think it fits really well by setting up the next generation of people who are going to be at West Park, the next generation of leaders, the next generation of missionaries and faithful disciples. And then as they grow, we need people committed to their discipleship and pouring back into them and helping them to grow. And so one of my big things that I would ask for the church as a whole as they think about our college ministry is really to pray for us.
Yeah.
Pray for this ministry and for these people, for their growth in Christ, and even to pray about what it would look like to just invest in their lives. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do this, but what would it look like to have a church where our college students are highly valued for what they're able to bring to the table and highly valued for the future, knowing that this really is the next generation of church leaders?
Well, I have to say, I'll throw in my experience. As you know, I've led a couple of cohorts for
Yes.
training program. And this last training program, I had 2 college students who have become very dear to me. And I've loved being involved with them and getting to know them. And I mean, we've kept in touch even after we're finished that and back in May.
Yes.
But we still keep in touch and pray for each other and check in on each other. And it's exciting as a person who hasn't been in college in a while, just to see the college students that are really excited about their faith and what
Right.
God is doing and how they're sharing it and all the different ways they're getting to do that. And I would encourage anybody that has the opportunity to create friendships and pathways to discipleship, you could say,
Absolutely.
for college students, because they're just fun, and
They are.
I don't know, I don't have children. They help keep me young. I don't but I think it's a great ministry, and I'm really excited about what is happening at West Park with the college students.
You and me both.
So, well, if people have questions or want to get involved in any way, what is the best way they can do that?
The best way to do that is just to come up and talk to me. So obviously I'm around a little bit everywhere on Sunday mornings, so people can just come up and find me, or you can email me. My email is on the website, but also it's just mgoldstein@westparkbaptist.org.
I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, you can put it in the show notes so people can make sure they're spelling Goldstein right, because that's always
It's the
always
challenge,
a challenge,
isn't it?
But yeah, if you have any questions or you're looking for ways to pray or partner with us, please just talk to me. Would love to chat with anybody about it.
Well, again, I'm really excited about what God's doing. Glad that He has brought you to our staff to foster this ministry. And can I say you're doing a great job?
I appreciate that.
Appreciate
Thank you.
all the time that you pour into it. It's been great, and I look forward to the next time we can sit down and talk about one of your other community-ish based ministries.
Yes.
So, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to Impact the World, produced by West Park Baptist Church in Knoxville, Tennessee. If you enjoyed this episode, consider subscribing, leaving a review, or sharing with a friend.